The Notice Me Senpai, I logged in, right? And you get it automatically.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, I liked it. Like, that's what I voted for. Maybe I'll use it. But then I remember that my name is I Love Boxer. And I was like, this is too perfect.
This
Like,
is
I have to
way too
have this.
perfect. All right. Yep. Just waiting on the Korean casters, and I guess once they go, we'll go. Thank you to Sanka You Dead for the 15-month resub. Woohoo! He says. Very nice. But NaTuRal is a Terran, so it is all Terran. I hope you like Terran, guys, because it's TvT from here to the finals. So two. Actually, remember it's just best of threes, right?
Yes, this is not the monthly finals.
Correct. All right, so two best of threes to do a best of five for what is left in the broadcast. He is a grandmaster here in Korea. We don't know much about him. We'll see how he shapes up, though. In the bottom right, it is the green Terran player, NaTuRal.
In the top left, as the red Terran, he is GuMiho.
All right, GuMiho again comes in here as the favorite, not because statistics or anything, but mostly just because we've seen him a lot. There's something brought up a little while ago. We had talked about with you, Thermal, right? Where he's kind of like, you guys, I've got good results. Why you notice me, senpais? And a lot of it really has to do with the consistency of who we see on the channel and how much we see versus like your results. And frankly, we've just seen so much of GuMiho for like 2 years of casting things like the Olimoleague and IEMs and you name it. So for me, he's always going to be the favorite coming in against an unknown. But
Yes.
again, Korean Grandmaster does stand for a lot, so NaTuRal is not going to be some walkover. I do want to stress, though, that regardless, before getting into this entire series, and the rest of the series today for that matter, TvT can sometimes really end abruptly and not look very good, because the skill cap in the first 5 minutes of the game can actually sometimes be really high. You can lose to 2 Hellions and a Reaper. It happens all the freaking time.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I mean, we saw earlier GuMiho, like a couple of Hellions, couple of Marines, roll over Superhero. I'm not bringing you up. I know you're still watching to make fun of it because that happens all the time to like pro gamers.
Yeah,
like that'll happen to Beyond once in a blue moon, and he'll just be like, "Oh, that happened." Like, oh well.
Yeah,
and I go on to the next game.
You could be Salvation, aka Forte. You could be GuMiho. You could be Alive. You could be NaTuRal. Like the thing is, there are going to be, just statistically, in the next 9 games we cast, probably one really lame game where everyone rolls their eyes like, I can't believe he's so bad at the game. How did that happen? So it's almost like a disclaimer TvT needs, because I feel that it's the only matchup where you can have a normal opener that can end the game so quickly.
Yeah. It's it makes it a very fun, like, it's why I think that TvT really is like one of the best. We talk about its comeback potential. We talk about, like, I guess base trades can happen quite often, but it's just like it has a very defined early, mid, and late game, especially depending on the openers. Like here, they're kind of accelerating to the mid game pretty quickly. They both went for command center openers, but still, it can be that case. I think definitely the map has a lot to play with the fact they went both for command centers. It is cross spawn. Of course, they didn't know that first. They know it now, and that that makes more sense. But whatever the next map will be, it's loser's choice. It could be one base versus one base, and it's that's why I like watching it. I mean, playing it's kind of the issue.
Yes, right? I feel the same way. And I'm really going on tilt against, like, this rise of mech that's becoming more and more popular.
Oh, right? Like, so I just anticipate, like, from the Legacy of the Void get-go, like, unless I was playing, like, maybe you, I would just not expect mech. I would never think about it. I'd literally see, like, 3 factions and be like, oh, yeah, they're probably going bio. Like, it would not register with me, right? And then lately I've been facing, like, mech all the time. And I'm like, oh, right. Seriously, it would not register. I'd be like, I'd look back at a scan, and I'd be like, oh, you know what? I did see they're going mech. I'm dumb as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at this game. But no, it's very surprising to see kind of this, like a resurgence. Like, you always have to deal with the 3x Reaper, which is still a fear for pro gamers as well. That can come out. Like, you can definitely proxy a barracks here and there. But yeah, mech could come out from either one of these guys too. I would give GuMiho the more the option more than anyone else, but.
I need to use your camera briefly.
Okay. What?
Just so you know.
Okay, I'm
Fast Armory is actually not so crazy. This might lead to mech, but before I do your camera, I was going to comment, Hellbats are incredibly devastating early on versus bio. But this might actually go mech, full on. I don't know, but camera's on you because I have to fix my AC real quick.
Okay, so yeah, I was like, kind of what the helling, not because... I mean, this is uncommon. It's not unheard of. but it's like he likes this build so much he wants to marry it, because this is what he did versus Zerg. So I don't know, he just really likes it. But these Hellions, some good control in the Hellions. It does end up target firing the one weak one. This one would die within an instant. And the Raven's here, and the auto turret can help out a lot defensively. So he attacks before the armory, but he's still building Hellions 2 at a time. So tearing those Marines is actually not so bad. The bunker might seem unnecessary to some, you know, like you could probably live without it in a lot of TvTs. It's actually going to be maybe fairly important in this game. Banshee comes in, though, and apparently NaTuRal just was not anticipating that at all. No scouting whatsoever. He does have the Raven, of course, if it had Cloak, but it doesn't. So,
Auto
I guess, yeah, the auto turret.
Good.
Unfortunately, only one auto turret.
Yeah, and I got camera back now. Thanks. Yeah, this for GuMiho really did rack up a lot of worker kills, but going on the merits of what TvT is, what we discussed before, oh, I even get the rain on the way out. What I love is this matchup doesn't revolve around workers so much as all the other ones do. Not necessarily just because of mules, but just because of the ebb and flow of things like tanks and whatnot. Normally worker kills, okay, cool. Shrug it off, keep playing the game. But because GuMiho looks like he is going for this mech style, in fact, confirmed now going mech, it's actually something that might hurt. Because for NaTuRal, normally you're playing Marine tank versus Marine tank. You've got exactly what your opponent has, and tanks are good against everything. Not necessarily the case with mech. Hellbats are durable. Hellbats will also be dropped on top of tanks. You're going to have a bad time. He's not necessarily going to be able to recover off these losses like you would in a more conventional TvT.
There's still no scouting from NaTuRal, too. So the Hellions initially weren't that questionable, but if he had seen them as Hellbats, then he'd be like, okay, it's a little interesting. Now I think he sees them. No, just barely not, but oh well, he will see them eventually. And he'll have to change his tactics here. He hasn't built anything on his barracks yet, so he can add on more tech labs since he realizes it is mech, but still just macroing, actually.
So, real quick, folks in chat asking about replays for this. The only way to get replays for the Olimoleague is to support the Olimoleague's Patreon. We hand out replays for everything else we do, you know, Corsair Cups, you name it, to our subscribers here on the channel. But if you want replays for the Olimoleague explicitly, you'll have to go through the Patreon. So patreon.com/Olimoleague, giving that a bit of a shout out.
Well, second armor is on the way for GuMiho. He did add on those extra factories.
I want to actually talk about one of the points of mech we got recently sort of turned on to with Beastie Cutie. And I'm curious to see if we'll see happen here with GuMiho or not, which is the... I mean, I was. God knows I was hard as a rock casting that game. The dynamic of the new Thor. I can't discuss anything new, I think is the way to look with the summit. But one of the things we talked about was the Thor and how it has filled a really nice role. I think everyone's pretty happy with the new anti-air, and it's created a really awesome dynamic in this TvT. So yeah, Thor's on the way.
In TvT, yeah. GuMiho getting it right now. NaTuRal, I think he did realize
Vikings
at some point
landed?
that it was mech, but I guess he didn't anticipate so much.
This is interesting. The Vikings being landed actually ended up being a fairly decent decision on account of the fact that he couldn't win the air war.
Yeah, for sure. And he was quite scared of the ground.
That was a mistake to engage that.
NaTuRal, he really held off on his bio production, right? Like, he was producing 2 Vikings at a time. That is pretty expensive. But he does have enough tanky units. It's a little bit of a rally that he might be able to roll over GuMiho while GuMiho is still waiting for his production.
Well, it drops Hellbats on top of the tanks. Tanks get picked up and scooped away to the medevac. I thought these Hellions were going to run across the map and go for the SCV kills. They end up coming back home, killing the tanks, funny enough. Marauders and Marines not going to join that fray, and these Vikings on the ground are kind of a whatever instance. The Thors finally start coming out. These have got some serious damage.
Thank God for the Thor.
Yeah.
Wow, because otherwise GuMiho was going to lose. There's a big production problem for him right now. You can see it in the bank that he has.
That's mech for you, right, though? I mean, that's one of the problems that mech has consistently had since launch, why it fell off. Like, you really do have this gap where, well, there's weakness to your production.
Yeah, that is certainly true. Like, you're going to be at a lower supply, and that's anticipated, but it was also that it was like the moment where he probably should have put down 2 extra factories. He was being pushed So he really had to prioritize, like, do I defend the push or do I try and macro? And if he had messed up the defense, you know, he would have died anyways, right? So now, you know, he still has his bank, but hope it's going to be used soon. He is building very expensive Thors after all, and he's still
Yeah.
upgrading. His upgrades are insane, actually. They're going to have 3-2 before NaTuRal has 1-1.
By the way, well, they're not transformed yet, I guess, to give that quick little overview of why we're talking so highly on the Thor. When it transforms, it's single target versus air. It's got crazy good range to it, but it's like 3 shots to kill a medevac or something insane. Like, had those been transformed, that medevac would have died.
Yes, it absolutely would have. Yeah, this is a very it's going to become a much longer game, and of course NaTuRal, he did realize it was mech. He had that push that was like so close to being able to just like push through. Thors though, thank God for them, they're pretty tanky, they actually do a lot of damage. It was just enough. That NaTuRal now has to kind of, I think, play to the mech style. He does have a 20 army supply lead, but again, those upgrades are pretty bad.
Right.
A lot of it's in Vikings as well, which, I mean, they can help, but...
Well, I want to cover the armor
damage.
upgrades actually here quite a bit, because A, it's going to support GuMiho's air and ground. Cool, double benefits. But secondly, Marines are just going to tickle things like Thors. I mean, really, the helmets are the only thing that's going to take any damage. The Thors have transformed now, by the way, so was it 10 range, I think? 10 range and 55 a shot versus things like Vikings. Thors are seriously air snipers.
Yeah, they're even tried. But yeah, the Vikings are taking down the Vikings anyway without the Thor's help. But
the Marauders
I'm still
top
kind of worried
of the
about
Thors.
GuMiho just like pushing out into like a concave, you know, in an open area was always going to be a little bit scary. But it looks like he did just enough. NaTuRal didn't have enough of a supply lead.
He also took air control, which I think was a pretty big deal. When you're playing bio like NaTuRal is, you don't really have room to produce 2 Vikings like he is right now. Those should be more medevacs. He doesn't have enough medevacs right now.
Yeah, and now I'm really quite worried for NaTuRal.
The Thor drop, though.
The first push, I think it was good enough. This second push, I don't think was good enough. And he does have to, yeah, like start playing to the late game, but he's already behind in a 4th, which is, you know, on location and building for GuMiho. It's done now. Behind those upgrades, and just, you know, you lose a lot of momentum. You know, if you can't break them on 3 bases, you can't break them on 4 bases. The mech army is still just as good as it was in Heart of the Swarm. It's really the production that is usually harder to get to in Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, once you hit your stride, I think that's what really matters.
Yeah, so I'm actually very worried. NaTuRal's going to have to worry about, you know, taking good concave engagements now, because honestly, a direct fight in like a, you know, even position is probably not going to favor him.
Look at that, that Viking almost got like half its health in 1 shot from the Thor. Seriously, these do some fantastic single target anti-air damage. But those Marauders and Marines just got 2 Thors for pretty much, not free, but cost efficiency.
Yeah. NaTuRal, like, it's good that NaTuRal is able to siege him up, but it's to know, like, to what purpose,
yeah, to what
right?
avail,
Like,
because you're not really stopping mining, you're not really hurting GuMiho, you're just trading out army for army.
All you're doing is like, okay, you're not pushing me, so I'm thankful for that. Like, I can try and get something going back at home, but he didn't have like a super fast economy, so it's not like he can easily
these
transfer
Hellbat drops are gonna be devastating. Right on top of the army. It doesn't matter whether you're a Marauder or a Marine. Hellbats have got a lot of damage. Unsiege Thanksgiving for the backside too. I actually like that they're unsieged in this instance. And he pushes NaTuRal back. And now GuMiho is probably going to be the one to turn this siege around on him. And I guess one of the things to talk about with Frost that we didn't see NaTuRal do is you can really put tanks here and hit some of the SCVs mining.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I think NaTuRal just dies though. Like, his army can't take on GuMiho's even unsieged.
Yeah.
He's doing all like the good things, right? Like,
it's
kiting
snowballed.
and
It's snowballed.
enforcing the siege, but yeah, it has. Mech is a very frustrating to deal against, especially if you can't cut them before, you know, 3-4 bases, and it's NaTuRal, unfortunately. I think he did fine the first push again, but it was the second one that it really screwed him over from a very long game.
Yeah. Quick notes, just by the way, people keep asking about Beyond over and over and over again in chat. We'll be casting both semifinals, folks, so don't worry. We're not casting Beyond right this instant. We will be afterwards. Dostier hits a 5-month resub. This is getting closer to that coin. You guys rock.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, that is going to be game 1. But NaTuRal did not look bad. He looked like someone who tried to break mech and then was unable to, which...
I would have liked to have seen how that went for TvT if it was bio versus bio. I actually don't think he would have done too poorly. He made a lot of the right moves. But we didn't get to play ads before, guys, so we're going to sneak them in now. We'll see you in 2 minutes for game number 2. Okay, we're back, and game already underway. We did squeeze that in as quick as we can, so just thank you guys so much for watching. And thanks for tuning in to this week's Olimoleague. Spawning here in the top right-hand side of the map. He's currently down 1 game, but not by a whole hell of a lot. We'll see if he has a better game 2 than he did game 1. It is none other than the green Terran player, NaTuRal.
The bottom right, as the red Terran, he is GuMiho.
And Julius, oh god, I can't say this name.
Ulysses.
I want to say Ulysses.
Yeah, right?
Thank you for the 12-month resub, and congratulations on qualifying for your Partoof. If you would, send us a message on the channel. I'll get you a form to fill out on Google Docs. And this applies to anybody that's over 12 months. The reason we have you send us a message is so I can verify that you are over 12 months and that you're not just like some guy trying to sneak his way in. But, yeah, send us a message. I will send you a form to fill out, and we'll get you sent out a Partoof ASAP.
Yeah. Okay, as far as all you know, I was here the entire time.
Yeah, you're just out of breath because it is hard to sit there knowing
I am
that you're casting
sick.
in the presence of someone.
I could continue. Actually, I like yours better.
Oh, go
The
on.
presence of a god.
Yeah, I like this Reddit thread I saw starting between games while around the commercial break, where it's like, did you know chitinous plating has a visual indicator?
See, I would love that thread if it wasn't by the bark thread.
I know. But for those who haven't seen it, did you guys know chitinous plating doesn't have a visual indicator? Its health bars don't move.
Nom, 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 nom.
It's so interesting though, because ultras are certainly a problem in the matchup, and I know it's nothing to do with TvT, guys, but we really don't have anything super insane. GuMiho playing a little bit greedy, but with the SCVs,
yeah,
well,
okay.
He's got it with the SCV, and if he's comfortable doing this behind it, it's gotta be for good reason. I was just gonna mention though that it is unfortunately frustrating as ultras may be. It does seem like Ravagers and Infestors are the true danger of the matchup, not the ultras. He'll win this Reaper War. That's why he was comfortable doing this. No, he'd be able to take advantage of that sort of, I guess, high ground, the faux high ground that the brush creates.
The loudest sneeze I've ever had. Thanks to Narusaku-fan for the 31-month resub. Holy shit.
God damn, y'all 31 months. 2.5 years. Shit, he says. Yeah, man, feels good, man.
Still a Naruto Sakura fan.
I know, that's how I always remember his name, right? I'll never pronounce it correctly, but it's always, that's how I remember it.
Wise disappointment. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, GuMiho apparently wasn't scared about the 2-Rax Reaper, so that was kind of like, just his experience really showing through, like knowing exactly what to do, but...
Yeah.
I still gotta be a little bit, like, careful.
Oh, I did lose the Reaper just now, and that is a bit of a problem, but the bunker's up at the front, and he's got high ground with the Marines, so with the Hellion coming out, he should be able to deal with a couple of Reapers in play. That command center down being early is going to be nice. GuMiho will have a small lead from it for a small period of time, but once again, if it is bio, if it's not mech, if it's nothing crazy, you don't really get super far ahead in a TvT early on like this. It's not like Zerg getting ahead 10 drones, you know?
I think the problem is not necessarily in the command center timing, although that's certainly going to be very helpful because he has much faster double SE production. It's in the tech, actually. These Reapers really did not do their job. If it was going to be much scarier if like, NaTuRal had like, hidden a third bear or something like that. Then he probably snowballs because GuMiho was a little too overconfident, but it's not. So now NaTuRal has to deal with like the faster tech here. He's probably going to want to get a Viking because he doesn't have a lot of Marines. Actually, he might have enough Marines to like put in a corner, make sure the Liberator doesn't do a lot of damage from GuMiho. But the point is, like, he's not going to get any more surprises here. He's kind of on the back foot, and GuMiho's taking a lot of control over the game just by doing nothing really, scouting and anticipating correctly. Now he does have a bit slower of a third command center. I like NaTuRal's decision to go a little bit excessively greedy behind the opener that he did. And then that would probably even things up in like the next 5 minutes. I think GuMiho's still going to have maybe like an upgrade lead, for instance, or maybe a slight army supply lead. Oh, the Marines weren't in position.
Oh, and that's really annoying too. That's gonna be a supply block when it shouldn't be. Cyclone does get the lock on, so Liberator is going to die. Cyclone almost died though without needing to. Awkward.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad then. Yeah, it's gonna be Marine tank versus Marine tank.
Yeah, so I guess we're not really putting a lot of emphasis on that because this is a lot more natural occurring TvT, but this is different than that last game, primarily because it isn't going to be mech again. Now, that's not to say GuMiho exactly played poorly with mech, and I don't think that has anything to do with why he chose to do it here. Frost is just a much better map for it, generally speaking. It's a lot more open, and you don't have to worry about necessarily drops, much less the terrain interfering with you, whereas Frozen Temple has a very, very different dynamic to it. So whether that's the reasoning or not, aside, GuMiho is going to be playing a much, perhaps more tolerable style, I want to say, for NaTuRal to deal with.
Less
But he is
great.
going to be ahead on upgrades pretty significantly. So while NaTuRal has a much bigger army supply right now, I do want to really emphasize how big of a deal upgrades can be in a TvT. And I think for me personally, this was really made aware when we watched Marine King play really greedy back in the day. You'd be like, why would he go for armor that quickly? What possible good could that do? And then he wins games because of it.
He was going for some really weird stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is natural with the army supply lead initially here, but right, the upgrades are definitely ahead. Combat shield's a little bit of ahead too here. The grenades are, if you've been paying attention a little more, might have just killed all these Marines.
Yeah.
That last stim almost killed him too. But that's neither here nor there really. It is about these third CCs coming down, and then when the medevacs are out, that's when things are a little more interesting. And the medevacs are out for NaTuRal. It's GuMiho still waiting on his and his tank too. So the Hellions see this move out, and that's pretty important because you got to know. I mean, ideally you meet them halfway so the tanks don't get into an entrenched position, but GuMiho can't do that right now. He's still waiting on his production. He kind of tries. Actually gets a really nice shot. Those Marines from behind, but two tanks down in position to hit the mineral line with it.
Well, shots continue to get fired. GuMiho decides to push up into this. His tank drops, and looks like he will break the attack. And that went so much smoother for him than I think even he expected. But he was up in combat shields. He was up in 1-1. There was just no chance NaTuRal's Marines were going to ever fight that out on even footing.
Yeah, that was certainly disappointing for him. The upgrades and the combat shields were pretty important. He had a decent position, just the Marines are so much better.
Yeah.
And now he's in a pickle.
Yep. Question in chat, by the way, how old is BaseTradeTV? I don't actually know, but if we ever see part 2 for Dr. Awesome resub, they were some of the people who subbed on us.
Yeah, it depends.
The first day we had subs.
It's like the first sub or birthday.
So,
Literal birthday.
yeah, because we streamed for about like 8 months even before we got a sub button.
So.
And even more before we got partnered before that, so.
Question with many answers. Alright, so NaTuRal, he does have an SCV lead, but I mean, I don't even think 70 SCVs is that good, to be honest. Like, 61 is much better in my opinion, but
Yo.
It's still about those upgrades. 2-2 about to finish over 1-1 here. That's pretty bad.
Now I'm really curious. Hang on. I wonder if YouTube's gonna have like our first VOD or something on. I know you can search by date.
No offense, but I've never heard of any of these players other than GuMiho. Then you clearly haven't watched the Olimoleague because we've cast NaTuRal before because we always make fun of his name. The NaTuRal is being taken right now.
I don't know. I've never heard of Beyond. Have you heard of Beyond before? Who's that?
Yeah, right?
Nice defense. Turret's going to help chip away the medevac, but it's not going to be able to kill it. I do want to point out that GuMiho is not really astonishingly ahead anymore. Like, the 1-1 upgrade lead still persists here, 2 versus 1-1 instead of 1-1 versus 0-0, but the army supply out of NaTuRal is actually not looking too shabby. Unfortunately, it is all out of position and scattered, however, so maybe I take that back. Ouch. Losing that tank like that was pretty nasty.
I was wondering what he's building. He's building supply depots. This is always like sometimes they remember, stylistically they're like, oh yeah, I could probably build supply depots to catch drops, and they include it like once every like dozen games, so it's always odd to see, but the center tower has seen this attack coming for quite a while, and GuMiho is prepared again with his much better upgrades. his Marines are going to be able to take on a lot of defensive drops without the help of tanks, but he also has some of his tanks here. NaTuRal doing a terrible job, though. This is actually more so than doing damage, which is not doing really that much damage. It is stopping GuMiho from getting his 3-3, which GuMiho could afford right now if he was, like, you know, had the peace of mind to probably start it. But he's choosing not to, or he just is forgetting for now.
It also limited how much GuMiho was going to be able to get away with on the other side of the map. I mean, those drops also got stopped at home, too. So, awkward trades aside and cost inefficiency that came with these fights, NaTuRal is still fighting in this game. And he's actually lived long enough now to keep that SCV count alive, to have these 3 bases still mining and not lose half of a mineral line. He lost an outlying depot, but that was, I mean, that was just a scout anyways. It wasn't really important.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up, though, and the first video on our YouTube channel is a really cringy old VOD of me from October 5th, 2012. So close-ish to, I guess BaseTradeTV is a little over 3 years old.
It's almost 4.
Dang, that's cool. I don't think I've. This is my longest committed relationship. And I don't mean that in terms of like anything other than the fact that I really haven't stuck. Even World of Warcraft I've been playing like on and off. BaseTradeTV I've been stuck to for 4 years, I guess.
Cool.
Now the tanks are a little bit away from the Marines, but the Marines
awkward.
are also afraid of the tanks, so this gets awkward on both sides. GuMiho, I keep forgetting, is the one who should be the one rolling over this and winning the game, but his tanks are a bit of an odd spot. Marines do drive this back, though his numbers are still on his side. But the tanks for NaTuRal left without medevac support, so the Marines just stay on top of them. They get focused down. NaTuRal will lose all of his tank support.
That's too bad, man. He had medevacs.
Oh, GuMiho lost all of his, too.
But yeah, I was gonna say NaTuRal dropped on GuMiho's tank, so the trade of the tanks wasn't so bad. I think NaTuRal could have saved some of his, which is a little unfortunate. But he was microing and all that, so loses a drop as well, and that tanks the supply 10 pretty instantly. His upgrades finishes, but GuMiho, while he was delayed on his 3-3, still, you know, got it at an okay time. He was a full upgrade ahead, so it makes sense that he's still ahead, and he just needs 30 seconds to have that lead once more. But NaTuRal's been playing a very good game. Yeah. Still up in that SCV count, so his supply is a little inflated overall. But
I mean, this is a really great comeback from what was a pretty crappy start for him. And
it was a bad start, but
the fact of the matter is, like, GuMiho could still lose this game. He's still in a better position, and a lot of that has to do with upgrades over everything else. But time will eventually bridge that gap.
Yeah, yeah. Numbers might as well. Just NaTuRal has been finding a lot of really great positions.
Oh no!
I was talking about numbers. Like this 4th base gets down, but it's not a planetary. So, oh my God! But he stopped firing. He didn't get it.
He actually saves it. Okay, that was pretty sick. Topside's planetary, surprise, surprise, we're gonna have to fly past that and go to the main or something, but I just realized, well, we normally talk about Terrans not having enough medevacs. NaTuRal might have too many.
Yeah, that is definitely inflating his supply a little bit, but I was gonna say, his positioning has been pretty damn good. So if he had gotten that orbital, he might have just been able to skyrocket ahead in terms of like reinforcements, resupplying, as opposed to general supply. I actually think a decent fight on the front lines too. Still have to deal with this. He does really have to deal with this. I think he thinks production will take care of it. But
so I'm not sure if it's just me, but your voice is going like in and out of like audible.
It's odd. iTunes did try and update, so
yeah, I'm not sure, because like for me, I don't know most of what you just said. Okay, well, I'm gonna just cast for a bit, and we'll fiddle with it afterwards to see what's going on, because I don't know if that's coming through the stream or not, guys. Maybe it's just my end for whatever weird, crazy reason, but tanks unload over here. Vikings gonna try and pick off these medevacs. This rocks are gonna be an interesting little guard, not actually helping GuMiho in this position, but more hurting him. The attack on the ramp also gonna pick off some of these tanks, but the Marines going down forward. Gotta pick up those medevacs and fly away once again. GuMiho getting perhaps a little bit desperate for damage now. The Marines have to walk all the way around the rocks, a little bit awkward. Carrying this down might not be too bad of an idea. NaTuRal's still holding on to this, though, not too badly. And as stated before, time, give it enough time. Those upgrades will be bridged. Coming up on that 3-3, those got +2 vehicle weapons. Looking for that first lead he'll get in this entire game. Both players are, of course, still on 4 bases. GuMiho never put his SCVs back to mining them after repairing the orbital. Oh, this is huge. This is that 800 mineral difference per minute that he's missing out on. Orbital under fire up here to the north. The medevac's looking for a way to get in here. Tanks just backing away once again. Big shoutouts go to Pig for that resub. BaseTradeTV, woot! Great seeing you both in LA. Keep up the work, mates. Man, it was good seeing you too, Pig. Wish we could have spent more time together, man. Feels bad. Big love. By the way, fun fact about Pig, guys. You know how you do that voice that mocks somebody? When Pig does his version of that, he becomes more Australian. Like, it sounds more... It sounds like he's an Australian trying to do an Australian accent. It's amazing.
But my voice is, you know?
I can't hear you at all. You sound like you're a million miles away. You need to fix your shit, girl. Tanks pick up and fall back once again. The orbital not going to go down. A small attempt at a drop in the south does get cleaned up. Marines just kind of trying to guard out for the tanks. Not really a lot they can do at the moment. But the tanks are so low. Also, I'm not sure how long GuMiho wants to stick around for. Go back home and maybe repairing. A lot of these tanks are one shot from dead, so he's not going to have that opportunity. Just drop them on the front lines and hope to get those first shots fired, as sometimes Terran does. NaTuRal base does get lifted, and he's floating over to the center to take this. And I guess at some point, yeah, NaTuRal's going to be thinking the exact same thing. So both players just kind of mirroring each other a lot this game. And all leads GuMiho's had up to this point are kind of officially closed off. 3 threes done. Those upgrade advantages that he's been enjoying for this game now gone. He's not going to be able to take as easy of fights. Not to say that any of these fights have necessarily been easy. NaTuRal has certainly been giving him a run for his money. But let's see in the downtime if you had any luck with your mic. Zombie grid. Oh, she can't hear me either, apparently. Okay, cool. So that's gonna be that. I guess we'll fiddle with things afterwards. Well, shot goes off, and the tanks for GuMiho are not that numerous. He did repair some of those broken ones, as stated before. Like, he really couldn't afford to take a fight. You know, sometimes Terran are a little bit complacent about repairing their things, but tanks are one of those ones you do have to pay a little bit of attention to. First one's down, first shot's fired. You can sometimes take a hit, but you need to be able to take that hit in the first place. So, pulls back once again. Small attack segmented over here. Oh god, it's Flotch. Flotch reset. Before I even look at this message, I bet you have something to do with Zest. Yep. 4-month reset out of Flotch. He says, hey, what's up? Can't wait for Zest to win the SSL and GSL this season, so it's part 2 of my quality fanfic. Oh, I'm not reading that on stream again, I'll tell you what. Man, Flotch, actually, I placed one of my first, like, esports bets. I think we put, like, $10 or something or more on Zest, and we lost, man. Felt bad, dude. I was like, that Flotch guy. He knows what's up. I'll go with Zest on this. Mistakes were made. Now this is majority of GuMiho's army up here to the north, by the way. Down here to the south, there's really not a lot going on. A couple of tanks with the medevac's fully unloaded. That's a lot of Marines, and NaTuRal actually might not be able to hold this. The tanks get spread, the command center's lifted. He's pulling back already, but the production is really what GuMiho's going for here. If this is going to get a little bit base traded, then so be it. It gets a little bit base traded, and GuMiho's got more units for it, but the tanks spread out in the main. He's going to try and use the SimCity. He's going to try and abuse the fact that the Marines are choked in. GuMiho picks up the medevacs and load on top of the tanks, consolidates on the right side, but the tanks pick up and fly away. And this is not actually that easy for him to do the damage he wants. Back on the other side of the map, though, there is no breaking GuMiho just yet. Now we got NaTuRal starting to push in. Tanks get fired, but really, this command center is only just barely being scratched. The production's not in danger yet. Marines ready to fight Marines on the right side. And looks like most of the barracks for NaTuRal have gone down. And GuMiho may have just broken his opponent. Not in a glorious manner, but it's still a way to win the game nonetheless. Command centers and a couple barracks being placed down over here on the top side. Gonna try and stay alive through this. I mean, he's still mining. NaTuRal's going to have money coming through this attack, but it's all about whether he can produce it, whether he'll get supply blocked. +3 weapon upgrades gonna get denied. Armory goes down. This is really, really messy for NaTuRal. And I actually don't know if he can necessarily recover. GuMiho pulls the command center back, though. So the funny thing is, while GuMiho does have production up, he doesn't have a lot of money to work with, as a lot of his bases have been shut down. Just kind of long-distance mining at the moment. Tank sets up here behind the mineral line, but it does get sniped by other tanks, so not too effective in that regard. Army supplies, 88 to 63 do favor GuMiho, albeit slightly, but oh, almost gets caught with the medevacs. Does decide to stim away, or fly away with that boost. Stim trying to chase underneath this. But that's a little disheartening. Like, GuMiho, I think, now realizing, oh, I don't really have the income but my opponent doesn't have the production, so is this a stalemate? At least for the time being. I don't know how much aggression is going to continue behind this, because GuMiho can't afford to lose any units. But the irony is, like, NaTuRal can't make any... He's finally getting his production back down, and, you know, the barracks are finishing up, but that takes so long. You got to build the reactors and the tech labs, and you name it. And focus around trying to kill the orbital, really not that big of a deal. The orbital itself is not... Excuse me, the planetary is not really a base that's mining that much anymore, but I love this tank positioning. Drives off the mining and the mineral lines. Only kills about 4 SCVs, but he's still able to stop mining from this base. Marine's going to have to be careful. Some of these are not accompanied by medevacs, and NaTuRal's actually going to catch GuMiho perhaps a little off guard, as GuMiho was setting up to fight more around the middle of the map. So he tries to make the best of the Marines that he possibly can, but unfortunately they get shredded. They kill like a tank for their trouble, and GuMiho and NaTuRal now on almost dead even army supply. When we look at the unit counting station, it is 33 Marines to 34, 6 tanks to 5, but 9 medevacs to 6. I mean, this is... Oh, SCV is getting slaughtered. Oh, that's really bad, because GuMiho's long distance mining. That's his money right now. Not sure why he doesn't try and put another base down, but he does kill the one in the bottom left. Now only base mining is this planetary, and now NaTuRal's finally in the same position as GuMiho, where his income not looking so hot. 22 SCV is going to try and just do what they can. Looks like Marines want to break this. He is going to start pushing into that tank. Not a lot left to defend the planetary. In fact, no tanks left means GuMiho can finally push into this, but bottom side of the map, base trade style starting to happen as tanks unload. I mean, there's nothing here to really defend him, but at the same time, it's almost more of a race than a trade. Command Center's going to float to the corner of the map. He's got a couple of Vikings as well. 9 Marines being made back at home, and looks like GuMiho should be able to stall and buy some time, at least trade out for some of that army. He won't go down for free, that's for certain. Top right side of the map, I didn't realize Liberators were made, so he can actually push into units that are floating on the side of the map. Floating buildings will not win NaTuRal this game, but GuMiho is bleeding out. Oh, that's his last command center. All of GuMiho's command center's gone. He's floating now. Oh, he's the one who's going to try and stall this out. Can Liberators win the race? I guess there's no Vikings down here. So Liberators can shoot the buildings floating. NaTuRal cannot shoot back. SCVs don't have the money to build another command center either. Oh, these tanks, what are you doing? Oh, this is awkward. GuMiho has not necessarily won this game, but he's in a better position to potentially win this game. He really does have to police this command center. Big shout outs go to Kush King 3 on 387. Thank you so much for the half-year resub. Tanks on top of tanks, Marines on top of Marines. But it looks like GuMiho might just do it. He's taking a good fight. He's chasing into the Liberators, or sorry, the medevacs with those Liberators. And shots fired might not be doing a lot of damage, but it's more than enough to shut the army down. GG gets called, and GuMiho will advance on to the finals. And now we can do microphone tests. Hello? No? No bueno? Just type it to me, 1 sec. Great. Alright, I'm going to go to an ad break while we fix this, guys. Or try to fix this. See you soon.